Ongoing classes. Everyone is talking about them. Are they right for you? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share my experience so far while teaching ongoing classes with Outschool. I'm going to share the pros and cons. Hello everyone, my name is Alejandra Landano and welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, you find lots of videos specifically about teaching and working online from home. As I've mentioned in today's video, I'm going to share with you an honest review of teaching ongoing classes with Outschool. I recommend you stick around till the end of today's video because at the end, I'm going to share my November statistics. I'm going to show you how many ongoing classes I taught in November, how much money I made with those ongoing classes, and then I would like to actually compare it to how many one-time classes I taught in November, as well as how much I made teaching one-time classes. So this video is jam-packed with information. I definitely recommend, if you have not already, that you subscribe to my channel so you do not miss future videos. If you're watching this video, I can assume that you're already an Outschool teacher. If you're not an Outschool teacher and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I definitely recommend you check out some of my other videos on my YouTube channel, just sharing what Outschool is, what kind of classes you can teach on Outschool, and really just going through the whole application process. So, ongoing classes. Ongoing classes are definitely the hot topic right now, especially in Outschool emails, Outschool Facebook groups, just speaking with Outschool teachers. I personally have been loving my ongoing classes. And again, if you don't really know what an ongoing class is, an ongoing class is basically like a club or subscription class on Outschool. So, ongoing classes meet on a regular basis, and parents can enroll or withdraw at any time. So it's very similar to a subscription. The students or the parents subscribe to your ongoing class and they're charged every week for that class. Now, since students can join at any time, this means your classes cannot build off of each other. Each class should be able to stand alone as a one-time class, because keep in mind that learners will be coming in and out. Now, that's what ongoing classes are. Why is everyone hyping up these ongoing classes? What is so great about ongoing classes? Well, I'm going to share some of my pros. These are some of the reasons I recommend you start creating ongoing classes. Number one, I think creating ongoing classes really helps you start to retain students. So if you've been on Outschool for a little while, you know, unless you have a really popular, successful one-time class, sometimes your schedule has holes, meaning that on Monday, your one-time class might be fully booked, but on Wednesday, you might only have 2 students. So it's very inconsistent. At least that's been my experience so far. Now, with ongoing classes, I have a lot more consistency. I would say that 75% of my students enrolled in my ongoing classes stay for a few weeks. And then usually if a student does withdraw, I usually get another student to enroll. So in my experience so far, I've noticed that scheduling ongoing classes helps my schedule be a little more consistent and I retain a lot of students. So I'm seeing some of the same students really on a weekly basis. Now, another great thing about ongoing classes, so this is my number 2, is they're a lot cheaper and affordable for parents. And this is really in comparison to multi-day classes and like semester-long classes. So you're probably aware that when you have multi-day or very long classes, the parents have to pay a lot of money upfront, while an ongoing class is a subscription. So for example, many of my ongoing classes meet once a week, and they're charged $8 to $10 per week. Versus if I made a multi-day class, which lasted 10 weeks, the parents would have to give $100 upfront. And sometimes that's a little more daunting for parents, especially if they don't already know the teacher. So financially, for many parents, ongoing classes are a little bit better. Now, my third one kind of ties to my first pro of retaining students. It helps build up a good schedule. And I've already mentioned that in my bullet point number 1. But once I started teaching ongoing classes, I noticed that my Outschool schedule was becoming a lot more consistent. And that's what I really wanted as an Outschool teacher, to have some sort of consistency so I can rely on a certain amount of income each month. My last pro, number 4, is the ability to actually build relationships with students. So yes, sometimes it is a little bit harder to build relationships with students in one-time classes, but I've noticed in these ongoing classes, especially if you have the same group of kids every week, you're actually building really cool relationships with those students, just like you would in a regular brick and mortar classroom setting. I've had some of my kids in my ongoing classes since I started them, and I'm getting to know a lot of my students, and it's so fun and exciting to actually build real relationships with students, because honestly, this was something I was very scared I would lose when I left the classroom. But I've been able to experience this through VIP Kid with my regular students, and now through Outschool, because I feel like ongoing classes allow you to start and get some regular students, which is really, really awesome. Now, I'm sure I could continue talking about some of the pros with ongoing classes, but I do want to mention a few cons. My number 1 con is probably that it takes a lot more time to plan an ongoing class in comparison to a one-time class. So as I've mentioned in other videos, my ongoing classes are very similar to a club. Many of my ongoing classes include tutoring sessions, animal classes, as well as kindergarten skill classes. Now that means every week I have to sit down and plan that ongoing class. As I've mentioned in other videos, if you have a very similar routine in every ongoing class, it does get easier, I should say, to create and plan your next ongoing class, but you do have to keep that in mind, that usually there's a little bit more time spent planning ongoing classes. And I'm going to share a little bit more of my experience towards the end of today's video, but that's my con number 1. My con number 2 is that it's harder to edit and almost perfect those ongoing classes. So I know for me personally, when I create my one-time classes, I create my class, and after I teach every class, I'm constantly thinking about how I could make it better, what are things I could do differently, and usually you can't really do this with ongoing classes. Granted, I can make a little changes because for some of my ongoing classes, I have 2, 3, 4 sections, but you still really can't refine it as much as you would a one-time class. Honestly, those are my only cons. And as I said, I could really continue to talk about the pros because I have been loving my ongoing classes. I really love the subjects I've been teaching, the students I have, and obviously the pay and the consistency is a great bonus. All right, we're starting to reach the end of this video, so I want to share my November statistics. Now, as I'm recording this, it is November 30th, so all of my numbers are written down on my paper. I have already calculated how much money I made this month, as well as how many classes I taught. So I thought I would share with you, really just showing a comparison of how many classes I've been doing that are ongoing classes, as well as my one-time classes. Now, keep in mind, I have never created a multi-day class. Well, let me take that back. I have created a multi-day class, but it never got booked. So I've kind of pushed that to the side. I have been thinking about creating maybe one multi-day class come next month, but I'm still thinking about it. And I have taught one flex class. I'm not sure if you would all be interested in me sharing more about my experience with flex classes, but as I said, I've only taught one, so I don't have a lot of experience, but I can say, based on that one class, flex classes are not my favorite. I think they have good potential, but I do think you have to have enough students in the class to make it enjoyable, and I think you really have to work hard to make it engaging. Okay, well, let's get to those statistics. So this month, I taught 26 tutoring sessions. I then taught 21 other ongoing classes. That meant those were either my animal classes or my kindergarten based classes. So, in total, because keep in mind, I count my tutoring sessions as ongoing classes because I'm seeing those students once a week. In total, I taught 47 ongoing classes in the month of November. Now, this is in comparison to my one time classes. This month, I only taught 14 one-time classes. Now, if you saw my video, my 3-month update, you saw that most of my classes before were one-time classes. Granted, I think that, as I mentioned before, ongoing classes are just doing a lot better right now, and I have seen quite a decrease in my one-time class bookings. But you can see the number of ongoing classes I'm teaching is significantly higher than the number of one-time classes I'm teaching, and it's really just because those ongoing classes are booking for me and those one-time classes are not booking as well. So first, let's focus on those ongoing classes. I already said I taught 47 ongoing classes. That equals 23 and a half hours of teaching time. Now, I take about 2 hours per week to prep all of my tutoring sessions as well as my ongoing classes. I spent 23 and a half hours of teaching, and that's about 31, 32 hours in total, including my prep time. For those ongoing classes, I made $1,380.40. Now, without my prep time included, that means just the hours taught, I made about $58 per hour. Now, if you would like to include my prep time in there, that means that 23 and a half hours plus 7, 8, 9 hours, my new hourly rate would be about $43. But you can see whether I include my prep time or not, my range is in the 40s and 50s, which is very good, in my opinion, for those ongoing classes. Now, let's jump over to those one-time classes. Now, I am not saying you should not teach one-time classes because I know there are many teachers that are finding lots of success with those one-time classes. In my experience this month, my one-time classes have not been doing as well. That's why I've been focusing so much on ongoing classes. But as I mentioned, I taught 14 one-time classes. That's equivalent to 7 hours of teaching. Now, for these one-time classes, I do not need any prep time whatsoever because all of these classes were created in previous months. And for those classes, I made $237.30, and that made my average pay of $33.90 per hour, which I think is still really good, but you can see the difference. And for me, you can just see that I'm getting a lot more bookings with my ongoing classes in comparison to my one-time classes. Now, I am not saying that this is going to be the same thing for you. My statistics, so you can kind of see that if you haven't tried ongoing classes already, there is some great potential in that area. And just a side note, I share my income just to show encouragement and the potential really of Outschool. I am never here trying to brag because I'm actually not one of the people that makes thousands upon thousands a month. With Outschool, I do it very part-time, but as you can see, there is still great potential. And that's really the message I'm trying to share with you, is that there is potential with Outschool, and I honestly think it's worth the effort for online teachers. That wraps up today's video. I hope you were able to find the information helpful and encouraging, and just see that if you haven't started ongoing classes, I highly recommend it. If you ever have any questions about Outschool, never hesitate to ask. You can always leave a comment down below or send me a message to my email. If you need someone to help you through the process, I am also doing that as well. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Bye!